Welcome back to Newsfeed PM. Let's get into some business now. It's been 23 days or just over 3 weeks since the two-pot retirement system went live. The pension reform allows users with retirement products to withdraw from their investments before retirement. Now, from this month, South African consumers will now be allowed to draw down on their savings pot at least once a year, with the South African Revenue Service taxing the cash. Some financial service providers say interesting numbers are already trickling in as thousands of people take up the financial windfall. Since the launch of the two-pot system, Sanlam says it has received over 66,000 claims to date, totaling over 1.3 billion rand. Now, to track progress around the system, we're joined by Anna Shiviak, the head of product development for Sanlam Umbrella Solutions. I'm sure some interesting numbers have come through, Anna. A lot of excitement, confusion, some frustration with others trying to get hold of this cash. What have you seen so far?
Yeah, quite right. There's been a lot of excitement. We've already got updated figures from the ones that you were provided a bit earlier, on about 72,000 claims, 1.4 billion for Sanlam Corporate. What we have seen quite interestingly is that very first week, there was a flurry of claims within that first week. Sanlam Corporate generally processes about 7,000 to 8,000 claims a month. So those are normally your retirement withdrawal claims. In that first week, we were seeing 7,000 claims a day. That number has trickled down a bit. In the second week, we averaged 4,500 claims a day, and in the third week, about 3,200 claims. So that number is coming down, but that very first week was quite up there.
And of those that have decided to withdraw, have you gotten any indications what they're going to be using the money for?
So we don't ask members what they're going to be using the money for, but we do know from our benchmark research that we published recently that of the members that were withdrawing their retirement funds when they changed jobs previously, majority of them were using the money to pay off debt and for living expenses. So they weren't frivolous reasons. Again, it just highlights that South Africans are in a tough economic position at the moment, and so we suspect that this money is used for much of the same reasons.
Now, some analysts expect a boom, especially in the retail sector, with, of course, consumers feeling a bit cash flush with the two-pot retirement system. Are you expecting that trend to continue?
Again, it really, I think, depends on whether members or not can understand the impact that withdrawing from their retirement savings has in the long term, and also not whether they understand that they pay tax on the money. So we do think that there'll obviously be a flurry up front at the moment for members saying, oh, well, this is essentially a bonus. This is extra money that they didn't expect to have, etc. But I think as the time progresses, members will realize, hang on, I actually pay quite a lot of tax on this money. I'm not getting the full amount into my bank account. And hopefully with all the education campaigns that the industry is busy with, they'll also understand the long-term impact on their retirement savings. So we're hoping that does calm down a bit. But for now, I mean, there've been a lot of members that say to us, you know, this is money I must use. If I don't use it now, I'll lose it. That's a perception that's out there incorrectly. But hopefully with time and with the education campaigns, members will better understand the impacts.
You've now talked about the dreaded taxman, and I have to get into that a little bit more. Are you finding that members that find out that their money will be taxed are seeing that as a deterrent and withdrawing from the withdrawal?
Yeah. So we make it very clear when the members go onto the portal or the app and they're looking at doing a claim, we make it very clear that the money will be taxed at their marginal tax rates. I'm sure all the other providers in the country are doing the same. But yet members are continuing to proceed with those claims. What is quite interesting to remember, though, and again is not something that I think members are fully aware of, is that members that have outstanding tax issues, SARS will issue an IT88 when we request a tax directive, which means that SARS will recoup those outstanding tax amounts from this withdrawal.
So the money goes there first?
Correct. And we've already seen SARS issue about 7,000 IT88s in response to the tax directives, and about 600 odd members have received zero because the amount of tax that they have had outstanding is greater than the withdrawal benefit that they had, or the emergency savings pot benefit. So they actually submitted a claim and received nothing.
Well, at least they would have paid off the taxman then. You say some 72,000 clients now have withdrawn and taken up this option. You probably had a forecast of how this two-pot was supposed to go. How do those numbers compare with the retirement clients you have as Sanlam?
So it's always been a bit of a thumb suck, if I'm honest, in terms of how many members we expected to withdraw.
Yeah.
We did seed about 700,000 members, and that's about 6.1 billion in assets within Sanlam Corporate. And of course, everybody had a different prediction, whether it would be, 50% of the seeded members and values, or 80% for the more cynical guys. So I must say it's in line with our expectations. We did expect that these numbers would be quite as large as they are. So luckily that didn't come as a total surprise. But what has surprised us is in terms of the average claim amount. That average claim amount from the first day that the withdrawals have been processed has been just under 20,000 Rand. So the average claim amount that members are making is about 20,000. But I must say, in line with what our expectations were.
Are you finding that people in the lower to medium income bands are withdrawing more than maybe clients that earn more from Sanlam?
So from our analysis, we noted that the members within the salary bands of 15,000 to 40,000 are the highest withdrawers. So the members earning less than 15,000 are not as much as the age group between the salary band between 15 and 40, as well as the high earners. Again, that number drops quite a bit. And again, the 35 to 44 age group is the most active for withdrawals.
Are you getting calls then from new clients who say, I'm seeing this two-pot retirement, I've never had a retirement product, I'd like to take up one now so that I can also benefit from this incentive in future?
We haven't seen much of that, to be honest. I think there's been a lot of hesitation to join the retirement fund industry in the last month or two because of the uncertainty that two-pot brings. There was a lot of uncertainty whether administrators will be ready to start processing claims, how transfers between different funds would work, and whether administrators would be ready to start, transferring between administrators if you change a provider, etc. But again, I mean, this is something that we can expect to see in the future, but we haven't picked up on those requests just yet.
And how's the industry feeling about the withdrawals? Because you might think you want to make sure that a certain company has enough capacity to deal with the withdrawals. Of course, this is something that's regulated in South Africa, but are you feeling that a lot of money is coming out instead of coming in?
So the two-pot system is twofold. I mean, the one, yes, is this access to emergency funds. And for many South Africans, their retirement savings is the only savings that they have. So we understand when a dire situation hits, or when there's a bit of a financial crisis, many South Africans don't have access to emergency funds. So we understand the benefit of having this emergency pot available for our members. But also, there is another element of this two-pot legislation, and that is that your retirement savings pot, so going forward, your two-thirds contributions that go into that retirement portion, that money must stay invested until the member's retirement. So that's quite different to the previous legislation that allowed members to access their full benefit when they resigned. Now, that is going to also have a massive impact on our South Africans' retirement outcomes. So many South Africans can't afford to retire comfortably, or can't afford to retire at all. And that preserved portion, that two-thirds in the retirement pot, is going to help them in the long run. So the two-pot system really is there to assist members both now in financial distress and into the future.
Have you gotten any surprise calls from South African expats elsewhere in the world saying, we've heard about this new reform in the country, we still have money vested with Sanlam and would like to cash in?
I personally have not heard of expats coming through to request that. So, I mean, I'm sure again there have been from our administrator side. We're still processing all that data, but from my perspective, I haven't heard of many of those requests.
Thank you very much for that update. That is Anna Sheviak, of course, from Sanlam.